and welcome. This is Business Edge on News Central. I'm Tolulope. Adeleru-Balogun. Our headline story: bad roads in Apapa in Nigeria and slow traffic push cargo cost in the country to $600 million monthly. We'll be taking a look at the inefficiencies in Nigeria's port systems. This is, of course, Business Edge. Stay with us. Now, despite several task force and other intervention programs by Nigeria's federal government, the inability to find a practical solution to the Apapa gridlock has negatively impacted the cost of shipping containers into Nigeria. Currently, the cost has risen by 600%. At least 100,000 containers carrying various cargo are discharged at the Lagos port monthly. Investigation revealed that $6,000 is charged by shipping companies to bring containers into Nigeria. In total, shippers in Nigeria pay up to $600 million, or about 234 billion naira monthly, to convey 100,000 containers around the country. Bad roads, gridlock, and ships being anchored longer than planned with the eventual surcharges has led to the high cost. A 20-foot container now costs about $1,000 to move from Lagos to the southeastern parts of the country, while transportation costs from Tin Can Port to any other part of Lagos has risen by more than 1,000%, from about 100,000 naira to about 1.2 million naira. To survive, many ship owners are now diverting cargo to neighboring ports in Benin and Ivory Coast. On the flip side, Nigeria has opened up some of its inland ports to decongest Lagos. Importers, clearing agents, and also truck owners have expressed concerns over the worsening gridlock along the port access road at the Tin Can Island Port Complex, Lagos. They've accused officials of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Security Department, Police, and the Presidential Task Force on Apapa gridlock, who were deployed to manage traffic in the area, of extortion. Multiple sources revealed that a structured system of security officials is benefiting from the gridlock. Extortion is an ongoing reality, with trucks being charged from between 70,000 naira to 200,000 naira, depending on the bargaining power of the truckers or their owners. Now, to look at some of the issues around Nigeria's ports, I have with me Dr. Bolaji Akinola. He is the spokesman, Seaport Terminal Operators Association of Nigeria. Dr. Bolaji, good morning and welcome to Business Edge.
Good morning.
It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me on your program.
All right. So let's get straight into it. We start looking at the fact that Nigeria is trying to open more inland ports, more dry ports as it is, to decongest the Lagos port. According to the Nigerian Ports Authority, the country has 6 seaports: Apapa and Tin Can in Lagos, the One and Port Harcourt ports in Rivers State, the Warri ports and the Calabar ports included. But by all accounts, only Lagos is as close to functional as possible, and even then, it's not at 100% capacity of what it could be doing. Why is this? Okay, we're having some technical difficulties. Hello? It seems. Yes, Dr. Bolaji, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay. Can you please check your settings while we take a quick timeout and see if we can work that out? All right, this is still Business Edge, and my guest is still with me. So we've gotten into the functionality of some of the ports across the country, and he has said that the dry inland ports mentioned earlier are not functioning at all. But this is more than just about the dry inland ports. Dr. Bolaji Akinola, again, is the spokesman for the Seaport Terminal Operators Association of Nigeria. So let's get into some more questions about the system. So Dr. Bolaji, I do believe you're back with me now. And we talk a lot about inefficiencies in the Nigerian system, including everything, not just the ports, whether it's in education or it's in the medical area as well. We see it as well. But particularly with the ports, we've been seeing accusations of thefts of goods waiting to be cleared. Robbery and assault of truckers, that's also one of the issues that they've been facing because of the bad roads and the time that they're spending in Apapa and the environs. What are the countermeasures that are being put in place to make this a better situation? Are we attempting to use technology in any way to solve some of the port operation issues that we've been experiencing here in Lagos?
Thank you, Tolu. Before we talk about technology, I think we need to address the key issues.
Okay.
Why do we have this gridlock on the port roads into and out of Apapa. Three major issues, which we have been talking about for long.
Yeah.
But government is, rather than address these issues, have been dancing around the issues. Number one, roads. There are no good roads. Okay? The roads are bad going into and coming out of Apapa, both from the Ijora end and from the Tinkan Island Maitu end. Okay? The roads are just not there. They are not passable. Number two, there are no truck parks anywhere in Nigeria today. In Lagos today, more than 5,000 trucks descend on Apapa every day to carry petroleum products. It's not just the ports, to lift petroleum products from the oil depots and tank farms, to also lift manufactured goods from companies like Dangote, Salt, Dangote, Sugar, Honeywell, and the rest of them. They are all located in Apapa. And number three, to lift cargoes from the ports. Of all, I mean, with this large number of trucks coming into the port, there is no truck park anywhere. So all the trucks come in at the same time and they stay on the road because there is nowhere for them to stay. So not just that the roads are not passable. Number two, there are no designated places for trucks to park, pending when they will go and do business and come out. Then problem number three, extortion on the port access roads. We have security operatives that have been deployed to the road to manage traffic. The so-called Presidential Task Force, which has now been disbanded anyway, the police, military officials, and the rest of them, they all turn their assignment to money-making ventures. So rather than control traffic, they decide to mount roadblocks along the road and be collecting money. And then truckers have to pay through their nose to pass through those toll points. So these are the key problems. It's not about just technology. Let's address first the problems. Lack of road, lack of truck parks, extortion by security operatives. When we address this, the gridlock will disappear.
Okay, it's interesting. And unfortunately, I've been in that traffic. I've also seen some of the extortion at play with the negotiations that happen between some of these security officials and the truck drivers, or sometimes you'll see them on the phone, possibly talking to the owners. So you said that the Presidential Task Force on the Apapa gridlock has been disbanded. So we're going to move away from that. Now, there have been those who have opened.
It has been disbanded because it was also mired in corruption. It's been accused, its officials have been accused of extortion severally by truckers. Imagine a truck going into the port and the truck driver or the truck owner has to pay as much as 300,000 naira just to enter the port. And the implication of this is that they then add it and eventually the importer pays for it, and then the importer, of course,
will pass it to the customer,
to the consumer.
Yeah.
So it's you and I, it's Nigerians, consumers who buy. That's why inflation is galloping. That is why food is becoming more and more expensive every day in the market. Okay, it's because of all these tendencies and practices. This time last year, just a year ago, the cost of moving a container from Tinkan Port to any part of Lagos was about 400,000 naira. Today, it is 1.7 to 1.8 million naira as of yesterday.
Wow. And that's just moving to any part of Lagos.
Government is not addressing the issues. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so we can agree that obviously there are bigger issues at play here than simply implementing technology. If certain things are not done at the foundation level, then even bringing in the technology will just add another layer of stress to it. But let's talk about what are some of the possibilities. Now, in terms of the road network, Lagos is about 21, 22 million, depending on who you ask. Roads have not really grown as much. So some have started actually docking in Apapa and using the lagoon and the waterways to ferry goods to places like CMS and Ikorodu and Ekpe. How viable is that for more people so that it can reduce some of the congestion on the road?
As a matter of fact, that has been the little saving grace we've had at the ports. Barging of cargo out of the ports. Okay? So a lot of barging has been happening, especially since last year. Otherwise, it will have been It will have been total blockade of the port because the roads have become no-go areas, especially as a result of the road and the activities of security operatives. So there has been a lot of badging from the port to where jetties are located. But it is not enough. It's still a drop in the ocean, okay? For instance, I'll give you an example. At Apapa port, for instance, on average, to have sanity, we should be able to get at least 1,000 containers out every day. But as we speak, less than 200 are able to go out, both by road and through badging. So the badging is still small as it is. Then problem number 2 is that the Nigerian factor is also already beginning to creep into the badging system that is developing. Now everybody gets up, and then they bring all sorts of badges, exactly the kind of trucks you see on the road, rickety, in bad state, not having standards and the rest of them. We are beginning to see that happen also on the waterways. It's Nigerians that do the badging, and now you are beginning to have people who will, in the course of moving containers by the waterway, the badge breaks down. Wow. Some containers fall off. The way they fall off trucks on the road. They fall into the waterways. Yes, and that is dangerous. That is dangerous. Because they constitute wreck, and then they pose dangers for navigation. So the authorities will have to be up and doing. It's not the terminal operators that operate badges. Badges are operated by individuals the same way trucks are operated by the individuals. They need to be regulated by the Ports Authority, okay, by the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA. I think the Lagos State Waterways Authority, LASWA, also needs to step in to ensure that only the right kind of badges are allowed to be used on the waterways, and they must be regulated to ensure safety, okay? Safety of navigation, very important. Now, also the badging we are talking about is largely within Lagos. We want to see a situation where small crafts, badges, small flat bottom vessels are also used to freight cargo from the port in Lagos to places like Onitsha Port, Onitsha River Port, which is a very small river port, Lokoja River Port, for those goods owners outside of Lagos. Okay, that is not happening. Most of the badging happening is likely, Lagos from Apapa to Badagry axis, to Ikorodu and all of that, which is good, okay? It's a way to start, but there is a need to strengthen that as much as possible. Now, you talked earlier about the fact that it is only the ports in Lagos that are working. I want to disagree a bit with that, okay? So the busiest ports, of course, I must give that to you, are the ports in Lagos, which is the Apapa Port, Lagos Port Complex, Apapa, and then the Tinker Island Port. Those are the 2 largest and busiest. But we also have other ports that are working, of the 6 ports that you mentioned. For instance, the port in Onne is very active. The port in Onne is working very well. It's even giving the ports in Lagos a run for their money. Okay, but it is used mostly by importers in Onitsha. In the eastern part of the country, Port Harcourt, those are, the importers that patronize Onne Port, and even Port Harcourt Port, mostly, okay? The Warri Port and Calabar Port, yes, are not as functional as they should because of some restrictions that government has failed to address so far.
Okay. I would love to get into more, but I'm going to ask you a very quick question as we wrap up. And I think at this point, we're going to insist on having you come into the studio to further this conversation. But you mentioned, of course, that the Onne Port is stepping up and it's competition. But it's not just competition internally Nigeria has to worry about now. It's also competition externally. And I want to give you a few numbers that I found. So we have that the African port sector has attracted about $15 billion in private investment, and public funding brings the total to about $85 billion. So when you now look at places like Togo is spending about $380 million a Head Start investment by Terminal Investments Limited to expand the Lome container port to handle post-Panamax vessels and act as a transshipment hub. You also have Côte d'Ivoire, which is working to complete a $930 million Abidjan port expansion project as well. That's happening. You also have what's happening in Senegal, which is also looking to build a bigger port that will take about 1 million TEU and also an integrated special economic zone. So you see competition from Nigeria's neighbors, and many are choosing to go to these countries to bring their items in and then use the road networks to bring them into Nigeria. So very quickly on this issue, are we really taking cognizance of the fact that there is active competition for cargo that comes into not just Nigeria, but into the West African sub-region? Very quickly, please.
Thank you. Yes, we are aware there's competition, and that is the right thing to happen, okay? And Nigeria is not sleeping really in that regard. Don't forget, we have investors at our ports also. We are investors. Seaport terminal operators are investors, and the investment has continued very actively. Don't forget also that we are already developing deep sea ports in Nigeria. Yeah. Okay, you have the
Ibom is one of them.
Badagry deep sea port which has been proposed. You have a deep sea port which has been proposed. You also have a deep sea. Okay, all of these are coming up. Okay, so investment is also being driven in Nigerian ports. Nigeria remains the market amongst all these countries that you talked about. Whatever they are trying to do is to take advantage of the Nigerian market. So if we get our acts together in means our logistics problem, the key issue we have is not the operationality or efficiency of our port. The key issue is our road network, lack of rail in moving cargo from one point to the other, overdependence on road, and then inability to even maintain those roads. Okay. So once we are able to resolve this logistics issue, I believe we are good as far as the drive for ports and the attraction of further investment into our ports is concerned.
Okay. I have to pause here because, of course, the show does have an end time, and we've come to that time right now. Dr. Bolaji Akinola, spokesman for the Seaport Terminal Operators Association of Nigeria, thank you for your time. We look forward to having you so we get deeper into this issue and also how this affects businesses and it comes back to the Nigerian economy at play. But Dr. Bolaji Akinola, thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll get straight into it with NC4 to watch as we wrap things up. MTN leads with market share of 40.14% in telephony subscription. Nigeria plans to purchase vaccines for 400 billion naira, according to the health minister. Safaricom reduces M-Pesa tariffs by 45% for lower value transactions. And finally, Morocco's annual inflation rate at 0.2% by the end of November. And that's all for this edition of Business Edge. Don't forget you can head to our website for more business and financial news from across the continent. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV, and you can also catch up with our news and programs. Just download the News Central TV mobile app on Play Store and iOS. I'm Tolulope, Adeleru-Balogun. Have a good day.